What's holding you back after 70 might surprise you. After 70, what holds us back often isn't age, it's the weight we carry without realizing it. Over the years we accumulate things. Old habits, outdated beliefs, unspoken regrets. At one time they may have served a purpose. But now they quietly drain our energy, our joy, and our peace. This isn't just about clearing out closets or garages, though that may help too. It's about letting go on a deeper level. Releasing what no longer nurtures us so we can move through life with more lightness and clarity. In this video we'll explore 8 things worth releasing after 70, things many of us carry far too long. Letting go of even one can lift your spirit, ease your mind, and open space for new joy. These aren't abstract ideas. They come from real experiences, patterns seen in those who age with grace and those who struggle. So if you feel a little stuck, a little heavier than you used to, stay with me. Because what's left behind isn't loss, it's freedom. And the final item on this list? It may be the one that brings you the deepest peace of all. Number 1. Letting go of the guilt of saying no. There comes a point in life, often somewhere in our 70s, when we begin to realize that our most precious resources aren't money or status or even time. They're our energy, our peace of mind, our quiet hours, and above all, our ability to choose how we spend the days we have left. And yet, even with that awareness, many older adults still carry a quiet burden. One they rarely speak aloud, the guilt of saying no. Whether it's declining a dinner invitation, backing out of a busy weekend, or simply choosing a nap and a book over another obligation, that whisper of guilt can sneak in and make us second-guess ourselves. Will they be disappointed? Will they think I'm selfish? Will they stop inviting me next time? But here's the truth, dear friend. You don't need to apologize for protecting your well-being. Saying no doesn't mean you've stopped caring for others. It means you've started caring for yourself, with the same tenderness and attentiveness you once gave so freely to everyone else. You see, many of us spent decades in roles where yes felt like the only acceptable answer. Yes to work, yes to family, yes to every favor, event, or request. We said yes out of duty, out of kindness, and often out of fear. We didn't want to let anyone down. Take Margaret, for example. She's 81 now. After losing her husband, she found herself swept up in every church activity, every family gathering, every neighborhood project. Not because she wanted to be there, but because she felt she should be. She feared seeming ungrateful. So she said yes to everything, until she found herself worn thin, her soul aching for quiet. Then one weekend she did something small but brave. She said no to a group trip. And instead, she stayed home and spent 2 whole days painting alone in her kitchen. Something she hadn't done in years. In that silence, she rediscovered a joy that had been waiting patiently for her. That's when it clicked. Saying no wasn't about letting others down. It was about lifting herself back up. When we say no with kindness and clarity, we're not rejecting anyone. We're inviting people to see us more honestly. We're showing them what helps us stay grounded, balanced, and alive. And those who truly love us, they'll understand. Often more than we expect. In fact, these quiet acts of self-respect teach something powerful. When your children or grandchildren see you honoring your limits with grace, they learn it's okay to do the same. You become a living example of what intentional living looks like in later life. Not a blur of constant commitments, but a steady rhythm of chosen joy. Of course, you'll still say yes, perhaps to a grandchild's recital, a dear friend's visit, or a walk under the trees. But now your yes will carry a different weight. It will come from sincerity, not guilt. And that makes all the difference. So if you've been carrying the guilt of saying no, my dear, it's time to set it down. You've already spent a lifetime showing up for others. This chapter? It's about showing up for you. And trusting deeply and truly that the people who matter will not only understand, they'll be proud of you for it. Let this be your gentle permission to choose peace, to choose space, to choose yourself. Number 2. Clearing out outdated medical supplies and prescriptions. It's something most of us overlook, easy to forget, even easier to ignore. Old pill bottles tucked away in bathroom drawers. Expired creams at the back of a cabinet. Leftover antibiotics from an illness long gone. Medical supplies that once felt essential but haven't been touched in years. They sit there quietly, gathering dust, Until one day they don't. By the time you reach your 70s, these forgotten items can become more than just clutter. They can become dangerous. And letting them go isn't just about keeping things tidy, it's about protecting your health and giving yourself something far more valuable: peace of mind. Medications don't always behave the way we expect them to. Some lose their effectiveness over time. Others can chemically break down and become unsafe. A bottle of pain reliever from 5 years ago may look the same, but inside, it's no longer what it once was. And the risks aren't always obvious, especially if you're managing multiple prescriptions or dealing with a moment of fatigue or stress. Consider someone like Jim, 71. He had been living with heart issues for many years. One afternoon, feeling a bit off, he reached for his blood pressure meds. But without realizing it, he took an old pain medication, one that had been stored in the same container, unmarked and long forgotten. That simple mix-up landed him in the emergency room. It wasn't carelessness. It was just a moment of confusion made possible by clutter. And Jim's story isn't rare. Even beyond pills, think about those outdated medical odds and ends we all keep: thermometers that no longer work properly, bandages that don't stick, ointments that have expired, supplements we haven't touched in ages. These things take up space both physically and mentally. And when we're not feeling well, the last thing we need is to wade through uncertainty. What we need in those moments is clarity. The good news is, this is one of the simplest things to fix, and one of the most empowering. Take an afternoon to go through your medicine cabinets. Check every bottle, every tube. Look at the expiration dates. If it's expired, dispose of it safely, ideally at a pharmacy that accepts unused medications. If it's unmarked or you're unsure what it is, don't take the risk. And if you haven't used it in over a year and don't expect to use it again, it's probably time to let it go. Keep only what is current, clearly labeled, and aligned with your real needs today, not from 5 or 10 years ago. You'll be amazed at the calm this creates. A tidy, updated medical space becomes a quiet act of care for your future self. Because when your body needs attention, you deserve to respond with confidence, not confusion. And here's something even more beautiful. When your loved ones, children, friends, caregivers, step in to support you, they'll be able to do so with trust and ease. They'll know that what they're handling is up to date, safe, and accurate. That's not just responsible, it's an act of love. So if you've been holding on to outdated medical supplies, thinking it might still be useful someday, let me gently encourage you. This is the moment to let them go. What remains will be a medicine cabinet that reflects who you are now, someone wise, intentional, and prepared. If this resonates with you, just type number 2 in the comments to let me know you're here. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Because up next is something that might be sitting quietly in your home right now, taking up more space than you realize. Let's talk about number 3. Number 3. Releasing the weight of negative self-talk. Imagine this. A stranger walks into your home, your sanctuary, and starts saying cruel, discouraging things to you every day. You're too old for that. You've made too many mistakes. You don't matter anymore. You wouldn't let that person stay a minute, would you? And yet, for many of us, there's a voice inside that speaks just like that. Not once in a while, but daily, quietly, persistently. And perhaps worst of all, it's been doing so for years. That voice isn't wisdom. It's not your intuition or your conscience. It's negative self-talk, and it doesn't belong with you in this sacred season of your life. If you're over 70 and feel weighed down, not by your body but by your mind, it's time to let this old companion go. This inner critic often forms long ago, sometimes in childhood when we absorbed the harsh words of others and made them our own. Sometimes it takes root during adulthood, nourished by regrets, disappointments, or the impossible standards we placed on ourselves. And often, it's reinforced by a world that suggests, subtly or loudly, that we are somehow less once we pass a certain age. But hear me clearly, dear one. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't make it true. And just because you've thought it for years doesn't mean it deserves your attention anymore. Think of Carol. She's 72 and for decades she wanted to play the piano. But every time she approached a keyboard, that voice crept in, "You'll never be good at this. It's too late." So she didn't try. Until one day her 8-year-old granddaughter said, "Grandma, will you learn this song with me?" One note at a time they began, slowly together. Now every Sunday they sit side by side and play. Carol still hears that inner voice sometimes, but now she simply chooses not to obey it. And that's the key. Letting go of negative self-talk doesn't mean silencing it completely. It means no longer letting it run your life. The first step is noticing it. When that critical thought shows up, "I'm too slow, I don't matter, I can't do this," pause. Ask yourself gently, would I say this to someone I love? To a dear friend? If the answer is no, then ask, why am I saying it to myself? Challenge it. Reframe it. Replace it with something rooted in truth. I have lived through difficult things, I am strong. I bring wisdom even if I move more slowly. My story still has chapters left to write. And remember, your mental environment matters just as much as your physical one. Surround yourself with people who see your light, not just your age. Spend more time with those who lift you up and less with those who tear you down. Protect your thoughts the way you would protect a treasured heirloom, with reverence, with love. You've spent a lifetime becoming who you are. Every scar, every wrinkle, every hard-earned lesson tells a story of strength and resilience that deserves to be honored, not attacked from within. So next time that voice rises up and says, "You're too old," or "You're not enough," speak back with love. Say, "I am still here. I am still growing. And the best of me isn't in the past, it's unfolding right now." One choice, one note, one kind word at a time. Number 4. Letting go of clutter that keeps you stuck in the past. There's something sacred about certain belongings. The sweater that still carries the scent of your late spouse, the photo that captures a moment words never could, the old love letters, the favorite chair where stories were once read aloud. These are not clutter. These are keepers of the heart. They deserve their space. But somewhere along the way the line can blur. What begins as meaningful memory keeping can quietly shift into something heavier, something that ties you not only to the past, but to a version of life you no longer live. Closets brim with clothes not worn in decades. Holiday dishes pile up in cabinets, never used but always, maybe someday. The attic turns into a resting place for hobbies long ago retired, electronics rendered useless, decorations from a life chapter now closed. And suddenly your home is no longer a reflection of you today. It becomes a shrine to who you once were. At first, the weight is hard to feel. It's tucked away, hidden behind doors and drawers. But it's there, stealing space not just in your home but in your mind. Every corner whispers a decision you haven't made. Should I keep this? Could someone use it? Will I regret letting it go? These aren't just questions. They become emotional quicksand. And the more we avoid them, the deeper we sink. Take Bill, 82 years old. In the shed behind his house, he kept every tool he'd ever owned, rusty, untouched since the 90s. To him, they weren't just objects. They were memories of his working hands, his garage days with his brother, the pride of fixing what others might throw away. Letting them go felt at first like letting himself go. But then one afternoon his grandson came by. "Grandpa, want help with the shed?" Together they sorted through drawers. Bill told stories with each hammer and wrench. He passed down a few favorites and released the rest. And what remained? Not just space but peace. Not just emptiness but a new bond. A connection with the present, built on the foundation of the past, not buried under it. Letting go of clutter isn't erasing your history. It's curating it, like an artist choosing what belongs on the wall. What still brings meaning. What still holds light. You get to decide. Start small. One drawer. One shelf. Hold each item and ask yourself, do I use this? Do I love this? Does it help me today? If the answer is no, then you're not throwing it away. You're releasing it. You're making space not for loss but for life. And here's something beautiful. You don't have to do this alone. Invite a trusted friend, a family member. These moments often become more than sorting. They become storytelling, laughter, reflection. You're not just cleaning. You're sharing your life. And in the clearing, something sacred happens. Your home begins to reflect your present, not just your past. Your energy lightens. Your decisions get easier. And you feel more ready for whatever comes next. Because every new day you wake up is another chance to live with intention, with spaciousness, with freedom. And it all begins with choosing what to keep, and gently letting go of what's been waiting to be released. If you found this message meaningful so far, I'd love to hear from you. Comment number 4 below to let me know you're still with me. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and tap the bell, so you won't miss the next video in this series. Your presence here helps us keep creating thoughtful content, to inform, to comfort, and to walk this road together. Number 5. Letting go of the belief that new friendships aren't possible. At some point, many of us begin to quietly believe a lie, that friendship is something reserved for the young. That after a certain age, it's just too hard to start over, too late to truly connect, too much effort to reach out when so many have already drifted away. You might have lost dear friends to distance, to time, or to life's natural rhythms. Routines change. Families grow busier. Familiar faces become fewer. And little by little, the voice in your head starts whispering, "There's no one left. It's just me now." But let's be clear about one thing. That belief, that new friendships aren't possible after 70, is one of the heaviest burdens you can carry. And it's time to set it down. Loneliness isn't a fact of aging. It's a signal. A whisper from the soul that connection still matters. That your heart hasn't retired even if your job did. That your need to laugh, to be seen, to share, those needs are still very much alive. And here's the most beautiful truth. You are not done making friends. Not by a long shot. Friendship may not look like it did in your 20s. You won't be bonding over college papers or first apartments. But you may find a deep kinship over shared losses, garden rows, or a favorite author. You might meet someone during a gentle yoga class, a community group, or even while waiting in line at the pharmacy. Every friendship worth having begins the same way, with a small moment of courage. A smile. A hello. An open heart. Take Walter, 79. After his wife passed, he moved to a quiet town where he knew no one. Weeks went by with barely a conversation outside the grocery store. Then, almost on a whim, he signed up for a watercolor class at the local library, not because he had a passion for painting but because he needed people. And that's where he met Carol, who had also lost her spouse. First they shared a ride. Then coffee. Then stories. Slowly the ache began to soften, not because life became easy, but because life became shared. Reaching out in older age can feel vulnerable. Maybe even more so than when we were young. We've lived more. We've lost more. We've built thicker armor. But inside that armor is a heart that still longs to be known. And what you carry now, your stories, your humor, your patience, your quiet wisdom, is exactly what someone else is longing to receive. So don't let the past convince you that connection is behind you. Don't let fear tell you to stay quiet. Don't let old wounds keep you from new beginnings. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to pretend. All you need is to show up as you are. That's enough. Because friendship in your later years? It's different. It's deeper. It's slower. It's richer. And sometimes, the most meaningful connections come at a time when you thought your heart had already learned all it could. So if you've been carrying the belief that it's too late to make new friends, I invite you to gently place that belief down. Let it go. What's waiting in its place is a future that still includes laughter, companionship, and the kind of warmth that only grows stronger with age. And now, let's move forward. Number 6. Releasing expired goals that no longer serve your life. There's a quiet kind of weight many people carry into their later years. It doesn't show up on a medical chart or in the mirror, but you can feel it in your spirit. It's the burden of unfinished goals. Dreams that didn't come true. Plans that were postponed for so long they've gathered dust. Expectations, yours or someone else's, that you never quite lived up to. Even at 70 or 80 or beyond, these lingering goals can whisper messages of failure. You should have done more. You never got there. It's too late now. But here's the truth. Some goals simply expire. Not because you failed, but because you've grown. Some goals belong to an earlier version of you. Some were handed to you by others, parents, teachers, bosses, society. Some were shaped by dreams that made sense at the time, but no longer reflect your heart today. And if you keep holding on too tightly to those outdated visions, You may miss the beauty of where you already are. Think of Eleanor. She's 79 now. For most of her adult life, she carried a dream of traveling the world. She believed that only by visiting far-off places could she consider her life fulfilled. But years passed. Life took other turns. She raised children. She cared for loved ones. And by the time she had the freedom, she no longer had the desire. Instead, she found something deeper right at home. Afternoons in her garden, laughter with neighbors, the joy of writing letters to her grandchildren, each one a small, meaningful connection that gave her days a quiet richness she never expected. One afternoon she said aloud, "I don't need to see the whole world anymore. I just want to see the people in front of me clearly." That's when she realized she hadn't failed her goal. She had simply outgrown it. Letting go of expired goals isn't giving up. It's growing wiser. It's asking new questions. What truly matters to me now? What brings me peace in this season of life? What kind of legacy do I want to leave, not out there but right here? And when you answer those questions honestly, you might find your real goals have beautifully shifted. To enjoy your morning without rushing. To mentor someone younger, quietly passing on what you've learned. To write a letter that will be cherished long after you're gone. To volunteer in a small way that brings light to another's life. To try something new, not to prove anything but to simply play. Or maybe, to just be fully present with the people who love you. None of this erases the ambition of your younger years. Those goals once gave you direction. But now you get to choose a new direction. One that's rooted not in proving but in being. Not in chasing but in cherishing. So if you've been holding on to goals that no longer fit your life, let this be your gentle permission to lay them down. Not in regret but in gratitude. They brought you this far. Now it's time to build your days around what brings you joy today. And remember, your peace is not a consolation prize. It's the reward of a life well lived and well loved. If you're still watching and these words are touching something in you, I'd love to hear from you. Please comment number 6 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't yet, I invite you to subscribe and turn on the bell, so you'll never miss a message crafted with care just for you. Number 7. Releasing the fear of death. Of all the burdens we carry into our 70s and beyond, this one, quiet, constant, often unspoken, may be the heaviest, the fear of death. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes, it hums softly beneath the surface. When we lie awake in the stillness of night, when we read another obituary, or when we feel our bodies slowing down in ways that remind us, nothing lasts forever. But here's the truth. While fear of death is understandable, it doesn't have to rule your life. And it certainly doesn't have to shape your final years. You're not alone if you feel uneasy when the subject comes up. That's part of being human. But fear loses its grip when we face it gently, with open eyes and an open heart. What many people discover, often to their surprise, is that the more we talk about death, the less power it holds over us. Avoidance breeds anxiety. But conversation? It brings clarity. It brings peace. Consider Walter, 79. For years he avoided the thought of death entirely. Wouldn't write a will. Wouldn't talk to his children about his wishes. He brushed it off with humor or silence, believing deep down that to speak of it was to tempt it. Then one day, after a close call in the hospital, something shifted. He sat down, wrote letters to his children. Not just about money or logistics, but about his values, his memories, the love he felt for each of them. And after that, something remarkable happened. He felt lighter. Not because he solved death, but because he made peace with life. Releasing the fear of death doesn't mean we stop feeling emotion. Of course, there will be moments of sadness or uncertainty. But we stop letting that fear steal the joy from today. We begin to live with greater presence. We love more freely. We forgive more easily. We laugh without holding back. We give more and expect less in return. We tell our stories. We pass on our wisdom. We plan not just for the end, but for the days we still have. This week, this morning, this very moment. Because death is not the opposite of life. It's the partner of life. It's what makes every sunrise more precious. Every embrace more meaningful. It reminds us not to wait, to say the words, to make the call, to hold the hand. And in that space of honesty, something beautiful unfolds. we begin to see that our life is still unfolding too. You are not finished. As long as you're breathing, there is purpose. There is grace. There is room for joy, for healing, for deep connection. So if you've been carrying the fear of death like a shadow over your days, I invite you to lay it down, not in denial, but in acceptance. Not with dread, but with quiet courage. Because your presence is powerful. And your life, right now, today, is still a sacred gift. Number 8. Letting go of the need to be who you used to be. There's a quiet expectation many of us carry well into our later years. The belief that we must somehow stay the same. That we must hold on to the energy, the roles, the responsibilities, or even the image of who we once were. We feel the pressure to remain useful, to stay strong, sharp, involved, upbeat. To not let others worry. To not let ourselves slip. And while there is beauty in resilience, there is also wisdom in evolution. Because here's the truth, you are not who you were at 30, or 50, or even 70. And that is not a failure. That is life. You are allowed to change, to rest more, to do less, to say, that no longer feels like me, to step back from old identities that no longer fit, and step into a gentler, truer version of yourself. Think of Eleanor, 82. She spent decades being the rock for everyone around her, the caregiver, the organizer, the one who always held things together. But over time, she realized she didn't want to keep holding everything. Her body was asking for rest. Her spirit longed for simplicity. So she let go of some responsibilities and began doing things just for herself. Reading poetry, painting with no purpose, watching birds in the morning light. At first, she feared being seen as selfish. But what she found instead was freedom. And something else. The people around her didn't love her because of what she did for them. They loved her for who she was becoming. Letting go of the need to be who you once were allows you to meet yourself again, with fresh eyes and a softer heart. It gives you permission to age with grace, not resistance. To grow not outward, but inward. To be slower, quieter, deeper. This doesn't mean you're fading. It means you're settling into your essence. So if you've been holding on tightly to a version of yourself from years past, out of habit, pride, or fear, maybe now is the time to gently release it. Let yourself become. Because who you are now is exactly who you were always meant to be. Final thoughts, as we close this journey together. As we come to the end of this video, I invite you to pause, not in judgment, not in guilt, but in quiet reflection. Just take a breath and ask yourself with kindness, which of these things am I still carrying? And more importantly, which ones am I ready, finally, to set down? This journey isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's not about rushing to change or fix yourself. It's about making space. Space for peace. Space for joy. Space for the life you still get to live. Letting go after 70 isn't about loss. It's about liberation. It's about clearing the path so you can move forward not with heaviness, but with a lighter heart. Whether it's the guilt that kept you saying yes when you wanted to say no, the clutter that tied you to yesterday, or the fear that quietly kept you from embracing what is, you are allowed to release it now. You are allowed to step into this chapter with gentleness and grace. And most of all, I want you to remember this. It is never too late to feel free in your own life. You are still becoming, still unfolding, still worthy of everything soft, sacred, and meaningful. Thank you for joining me today. We would truly love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and share. What is one thing you learned today? And how do you plan to bring it into your life? Your voice matters here. Your story matters. And reading your reflections brings this space to life. If you found this video meaningful, please don't forget to leave a comment. We truly read and treasure each one. Subscribe to our channel, so you'll always know when new videos are shared. Tap the bell icon to receive a gentle reminder whenever we post something new. Share this video with someone you care about. You never know who might need these words today. You've carried so much in your life. Now it's time to feel lighter. Take good care of your heart. And I'll see you again very soon.